Let's open up the OG mailbag. Brought to you by the Butcher's Market. Alongside Joe Giglio, I'm Joe Ovias. We are inside Eford Studios, thanks to Empire Properties. And of course, thanks to our presenting sponsor, Copiers Plus. But on the mailbag, a very special holiday edition of the mailbag, Joe. We thank our friends at the Butcher's Market. Get the catering done for New Year's Eve now. Get the side for that last-minute holiday dish now. That's what you need to do, Joe.
Or do what Jeannie does. Go this week, get the hot dogs, because she said I never even thought to get the hot dogs until you two started talking about them.
You are like evangelical about their hot dogs.
I really am.
You're like, you never think to go get hot dogs at the Butcher's Market,
You
but
wouldn't.
I'm telling you.
Just wait till I discover the sausage next year in 2025.
Oh boy. So big thanks to everybody who subscribes to OGTriangleMedia.com. If you are not an OG fan subscriber, it's not too late. Go ahead and go to OGTriangleMedia.com. Maybe you can surprise the loved one in your life, a stocking stuffer, with a gift subscription to OG fans where you get the full OG mailbag episode. I put the call out for kind of like OG moments of the year, not necessarily show moments, but just in terms of like 2024 moments that stuck out. And we got a few that we're going to run through. And on the paid side of things, there is a Festivus airing of grievances. We're going to save that for the paid side of things. So if you want to hear this airing of grievances from a UNC fan towards Giglio, well, you're going to have to pay up for that one. But let's go ahead and get things started.
Here's a mail that never fails. Makes me wanna wag my tail. When it comes, what a whale.
All right, let's go to the OG Sports phone. I believe this came to us from a 704. No, I'm sorry, this is a 910 number.
Hey, Joe and Joe. Long-time listener, Mike. Sitting here in the garage pretending to clean up and work. And it's the first time I've ever actually listened to Law of the Wolf. I'm an ECU alum. And I've got to tell you, it was great to hear Giglio and Son hashing it out on the pod about ECU and State. As I approach the age of 35 in 2 weeks and Christmas on the way as well, feeling in the feels, as Ovius would say, and it's just crazy to see the next generation of Giglios involved in sports media. I was a wannabe sports media person myself at ECU from 2009 to 2013, and I remember going in a press box seeing this guy from the News and Observer, J.P. Giglio. I was like, oh shit, that's him. And I was like, oh shit, he looks miserable. And it scared the shit out of me, and I became a history teacher for the last 12 years. And I don't regret it. But as a casual observer who also was probably one of the first people to ever hire Josh Graham in sports media, apologies to everyone, and congrats to Josh on his new baby. I'm so ecstatic for the work that you guys are doing, this podcast. Despite being a teacher, I've had the opportunity to lately support the pod, and I suggest that everybody else do the same, because you cannot continue to get this kind of content without people supporting you guys, especially after you got shafted by Capital Media. But so far, that's looking good. Gentlemen, sorry for the rambling, sorry for the being in the feels, but it's just so good to know that you guys are making it, that we're all making it, and that there's another Giglio who's wearing purple instead of red or whatever the hell hoodie he decides to have on while he's putting his neck balm on. Gentlemen, I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Who knows, you might never even hear this, but needed to get it out while I was in the garage. Great show. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to everyone, and support the pod. Thanks, guys.
It's got to be the call of the year.
Might be. I wanted to come out of the gate with that one.
Miserable.
You know, who says you're not shaping the future generations, Joe, just by looking miserable in a press box?
I think it must have been 16. Although there were some games I covered with before back surgery too.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
Woo. That's great stuff. No, James was really good. got a lot of compliments about James. A
Mhm.
lot of people say, man, Ovius better watch out.
I know. My kids have no interest in this business, which I've told them don't.
Don't, please.
And I've told that to James too.
I know.
When James was up here in the studio the other day, I said, James, what are we doing?
What are
Dude,
you
James, what are you
doing?
doing? Did you learn nothing by watching your dad? Have you learned nothing by watching us? Don't do it. Reconsider.
I learned it from
Do some
you.
living. I learned it by watching you, Dad. All right, let's go to another. This is from a not.
That might be my favorite call of all time, though. Like, I became a teacher, which is what I would have done, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
If it didn't work out at the News Observer, I would have been a history teacher.
I believe this one came to us from a 704 number.
Good morning, boys. It's Jesse from Durham. I am just wrapping up my OG fans morning listening to the Mailbag episode and the newest Law of the Wolf episode. And I have a question. Did NC State basketball break Carolina? Here's my theory. State beats Carolina in the men's basketball ACC championship game back in March. Obviously, a huge deal for NC State. And now Carolina football has gotten so desperate to be better than NC State at something that they went and hired the biggest asshole in the NFL, who the NFL wouldn't even hire, to come and coach their football team for who knows how long. And their basketball team and NC State's basketball team are both, like, mediocre to this point in the season. So, did the loss in the men's basketball ACC championship to NC State specifically rock the University of North Carolina so hard that they are now trying to change their whole identity up and try and take what State has had over the last few years, which is the quote-unquote better football school in the Triangle? I'll hang up and listen. Have a good day, guys.
It's a pretty solid theory.
It is the theme of 2024. That's why I wanted to include that one as part of, like, you know, OG moments of the year. I mean, spoiler alert, when we do our OG year in review, I think you all can guess what the number one thing was in 2024. But when State,
what else could it be?
right? But this is the thing: we've always wondered out loud what happens when NC State has success. We've only looked at it from the lens of how will State fans react to NC State success.
I'll do it again. What happens when Sam and Diane get together? Where do you go from there?
Where do you go from there? But what I did not consider, and what the caller points out, and it's something that we've kind of seen in the reaction throughout the year, it's, well, how will the others in the area who are used to NC State not having success? Because this is what makes the area so dynamic. So how do they process this? And back in March and April in the Final Four run, you know, I'll take Kelly's cue, right? Where she was like, yeah, let NC State have this. You know, like, good for them, man. It's been 40 freaking years since they've been able to be happy about something. Let them have it. But not everybody was like that watching NC State succeed.
Now, you know how I feel about this year in NC State. Yeah. I want to give Duke credit, though, because I think Duke football is more of a driving force here than people are kind of sort of aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Because Duke, in their last cycle, when they replaced Mike Elko, put a general manager in place.
Mm-hmm.
Their NIL budget was between $8 and $10 million this year, which is double NC State's, by the way.
Yeah.
And they had a coach who was willing to play that game, and they had an investment. And really, what Carolina's doing is not necessary in football, is not necessarily a reaction to State. But again, think about the relationships between all three of these schools and their ADs, right? Now,
Sure.
I'm not suggesting that Bubba is the driving force behind this football push, but I do think that there is a lot of Carolina looking at what Duke did and what people aren't really understanding what Duke did in football this past year. So I do want to point to the passer on that I do think structure wise and investment wise, what they're doing is trying now that's going to double what Duke's is, but they're trying to keep up with Duke in this very specific instance. And that Manny Diaz had the year that he did at 9-3. I want to give them credit here for kind of pushing this thing forward.
Actually, I want to take what you're saying and double down on something. We can get into the structure of what Duke is doing football wise. Well, let's talk about the results. It absolutely sent people. You talk about people having success and what it does for other people, right?
Yeah.
Well, in the case of Duke football's success over the last 3 years, it has sent NC State fans into a spiral.
Oh,
Okay.
the last two, in specifically, they've beaten State head to head,
Yeah. And they've had better years.
Correct.
Straight up better years.
Correct.
Bigger moments too.
Mhm.
Bigger moments.
Game day was over in Durham.
Right.
Apparently, Marcus Freeman was up late at night sweating to that Duke crowd.
Yeah, as Ramar pointed out on the YouTube comments, I know it's in the state constitution for Giglio not to show up to Wallace Wade, but it was pretty rocking there in the final moments of the game.
I've been to plenty of games.
I know you
at
have. I
Wallace
was gonna
Wade.
say, I know you've been there plenty of times, just in the different times.
Right, correct.
No, but my point is, when Mike Elko was running hot that 2 years and they beat NC State, it was a lot of NC State fans going, "Damn it, Dave, you've been here over a decade and you've never had this."
Yep.
Right. And of course, Manny Diaz comes in. I mean, you talk like wolf blood by marriage here in Manny Diaz.
Yeah.
Well, like what's going on here?
Legit wolf blood who cut his teeth with Chuck.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, by marriage.
Yeah.
He's not an NC State grad, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
So he's tangential blood.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So yeah, I think that call, you bringing up Duke, I think again that once again highlights and crystallizes why this area is as dynamic as it is. And if you kind of treat it like another sports market, as if it's just one monolithic thing, then you're just going to get it wrong. All these things all tie together. That's why I love the conversation with Roy Cooper, right? Because Roy gets it.
Yeah.
You know, you can have, like, the Carolina Hurricanes are a prime example of this. You can have all sorts of opposing views on who you like and who you don't like, but get to Carter Finley Stadium for an outdoor game, everybody's there to celebrate it, man. So those are the interesting dynamics here.
I'll say this for Carolina, and I said this when Roy retired.
Mm-hmm.
It's a school that has been tremendous in a lot of different sports, but it's also a school whose identity is obviously basketball.
Mm-hmm.
But it reminds me a lot of the Green Bay Packers.
Uh-huh.
Some NFL franchises are blessed at quarterback, right? You go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. And it's not just the laundry, it's the history, it's the ability to identify at that specific position, right? But think about how lucky you kind of sort of have to be.
Yeah.
Like, look at the Bears. Look at their division rival. They can't even fall on a lucky star into a quarterback once, let alone 3 different times over the last 4 decades, right? Well, Carolina not only had Roy Williams, they had Dean Smith for 60 years between the two of them. I mean, you're talking about 2 of the 4 greatest coaches of all time. All time. And it's not a knock on anyone, whoever they got to replace those 2 guys. Like, finding that Jordan Love, finding that third guy could be really, 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 really hard. And look at Duke. Duke still needs to prove that it's not just K. Look at Syracuse, where they are. It was obviously Boeheim. It was Boeheim all along. Are you kidding?
We going Tony Bennett too at Virginia?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Terry Holland, a different level of success.
Yeah.
But you know, put it on the map. Or back in the 80s, late 70s, 80s. I would just say this. It's no matter what was going to happen after Roy, it was just going to be a little bit of a dose of reality. I do not think Carolina is broken, but I think they've been now giving a healthy dose of reality of how the other 95% of the world lives. I wouldn't like it either. So that would also explain why they're going and went out and got Belichick as well. Because if you're used to a certain standard and a certain success, a certain level of success, well, guess what? You're going to continue to pursue that. I actually applaud Carolina for what they've done.
Yeah.
It's coming in basketball too. We're going to see what happens with basketball.
Yeah, I have to spend some time this holiday break truly reading the Matt Norlander piece on CBS about how the Belichick stuff is affecting basketball, or how it will affect basketball.
You've got mail.
All right, this came to us from Cam. Favorite interview of 2024?
Oh, there's absolutely no competition. We had Ron Shelton in here in this studio, and I don't think I've ever been as excited to talk with someone as I was. Now, I've talked to more famous coaches, bigger athletes,
sure.
all this other stuff.
You geeked out, man.
But man, to have written some of the turn of phrases that Ron has written, and not just in Bull Durham, but White Man Can't Jump, Tin Cup.
I would think a line that is sort of who I am behind the scenes of doing this is Crash tells Nuke when he's going to the big leagues, we play this game out of fear and arrogance, which is to say, we all have fear of everything, working, living, dying, failing. But the answer to that is to be arrogant and charge forward, chase the sharks, as they say. That's a line that nobody ever quotes, but it's sort of like, that's kind of who I am.
Like, where does that even come from?
Well, Hemingway said, write drunk, edit sober. And that's my
we just had this conversation.
I don't smoke weed. I came out of the 60s
Smoke free.
smoking weed.
Okay, yeah.
But drinking, same thing. No, you have to, when you're writing, I think not writers who aren't great, they just write the first thing in their head. And you got to say, wait a minute. That's what everybody in writing school would do. Go to the next. Look at it from an angle that you can look at it that nobody else is going to look at it.
Like, if you know me, we did a podcast project about Russell Wilson. I never wanted to fucking work again. I mean, but then we did one on Roy. Right. Like, if I wrote Tin Cup and or White Man Can't Jump, I would just be like,
peace.
Cool.
I'm out.
I'll see you guys on another level, right? But for him then to come in here, give us the whole story behind Tin Cup, which blew me away, right?
Yeah.
That was awesome. Yeah. We got all the basketball stories, the baseball stories. He even said, yeah, we're going over to Mitch's. And I'm like, of course you are. Of course you are, right? And I had asked about do you really believe that JFK acted alone? Yeah. And he was like, I just wanted to write something that would kind of sort of make people think and make just kind of not know where am I from the left? Am I on the right? Am I trying to be mad at you? It was just such a brilliant answer, right? And then, of course, when he gives me the life advice that I've been trying to explain to you, that nothing ever has been done good sober. Nothing creatively has ever been done well sober.
So I got you the fireball mat,
which is a tribute, which is the year of the wolf and the year of drunk Giglio. I mean, come on, man! Like when he says, "Write drunk, edit sober," you might as well have just lifted me up into the ceiling. It was all over after that. What an amazing! What was he with us? 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
So, yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, that was fun.
I'll work forever and never top that.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I mean, my answer is kind of boring. My favorite interviews of 2024 are actually with Rod Brindamore. Mainly because again, we get to talk to Rod. It's not breaking news. We talk to Rod, right? But I think we have established with our demeanor and how we go about when we decide to talk to Rod, there are moments of like, all right, let's talk, right?
Yeah.
And it's been good. It's actually something that I've routinely heard back from listeners in that when Brindamore is on with us, you're truly getting something out of it. And you're even hearing some, off the cuff, like you always point out in the summertime, right? It's like, and we'll get into this in the year in review. He wasn't pleased and he let it be known, right? So all these things, I think, just kind of further enhance the format of what we get to do now. And I think the Rod interviews are the ones that truly shine. And not really any conversations we have with the Canes. I mean, for heaven's sake, where else are we going to be able to tell Sebastian Aho, all right, let's play this stupid game and see how that goes, right? So I enjoy those conversations. All right, our next one is from a 919. This was for the OG Sports Phone. Can we get a behind the jingle or pop-up video with Brian from Nice Price?
Yeah, we need to.
A behind the jingle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to hear about Brian's process at 3:30 in the morning when he decides to send me over, the police procedural guitar riff that Pomani enjoyed. They loved that, by the way. I was over at Nice Price the other day, and they were like, Pomani. They were all into the fact that Pomani loved the police procedural. But yes. Maybe that's something we can do in the summer. We'll do a little behind the music.
Yeah, I still want to do like the Freedom Rock. Turn it up. I want to, and it has to scroll down, and
I love it.
Wookin' Panub and doing the whole thing. combine all of the SNL bits.
All right, from another 919, this came to us on the sports phone. Top four at 4 moments of the year. Drunk Giglio Brinson hot mic at the Rialto was number 1. Damon Neha saying "we" and breaking Giglio's heart when
I think it was
referring
us,
to
but
Carolina.
yeah, that was hard.
10 milli at Nature's Relief for Giglio, and thinking UNC football was cooked at the Central game and having it confirmed against JMU. I could see where those were your moments for sure. All right, let's go to the sports phone.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports Phone and curse or don't.
It didn't hit. Hold on a second.
What's up, Joes? Responding to what was the moment of 2024, very, very simple. It had to be the Pack winning the ACC championship, and then the live streams afterwards, Brinson being loud into the microphone, Giglio being drunk during it. Peak content, peak NC State time. It was awesome. The moment of the year, probably the moment of the decade, the way NC State basketball is looking. Thanks, guys. Have a great new year.
Hey, decade, last 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 score.
Details.
Hey, man.
Here's
Smoke
another.
them if you got them.
Here's another sports phone.
Fellas, it's Mark Bergen. You were asking for your top sports moments of the year. Perhaps this isn't the top sports moment, but it is my favorite. Triangle sports moment from this past year was during the NCAA tournament run for the NC State Wolfpack. After the first round game against Texas Tech, CBS's sideline guy, Evan Washburn, tried to give DJ Burns an ice cream sundae after the post-game interview, and it could not have been more awkward. That was my personal favorite sports moment from this past year. Love what you guys are doing. Happy holidays. Hope both of you are well.
Appreciate you, Mark. Yeah.
I do remember the big boy. Here's some ice cream.
Big boy.
Because, the whole NC State ice cream thing. I do wonder how many shirts Breaking Tea finally sold from that entire
With the
run.
scoops?
With the scoops. They had to have sold.
Good.
Had to have sold.
Pretty
a whole
good run
bunch.
for all.
Yeah, I'd say so. All right, here's another sports phone call.
What's up, gentlemen? It's Josh from Charlottesville. On my way home from work, I have to drive by the John Paul Jones Arena. I'm actually doing it right now. If you can hold on one second. You guys are fun. There you go, Giglio. That one's for you. My favorite of the year probably has to be bringing out the brass monkey and everybody losing their shit over that and telling Joe how he was going to die from it. And or Giglio and Will Brinson, I think it was Will, going full Frank and Mac from Always Sunny after State won at the Rialto. That's pretty much high up there on the drunk factor redneck scale, I believe. So, keep the show going, boys. You're doing a great job. Go Pirates, beat State, and fuck UVA. Hey, bye-bye.
I think he drove by.
Hitting a lot of my high points
He
there.
really
I
was.
like all of that.
He really was driving by JPJ and saying, "You guys suck." All right, that's really right up your alley. So I'm not going to belabor the point because we got some other calls that were related to what was clearly for the audience their favorite moment of 2024, which was the Rialto Elite 8 episode where we were all shit-faced. I had not watched that episode back until last night when I was editing some things for today's show. So I said, you know what? All y'all keep talking about that dang show. I have not gone back to watch it. So I did. Because I was like, I wasn't that drunk.
I was going to say, it's probably for the best that I don't.
You don't need to go back because the glazed eyes, double birds, Duke, double birds. How you like this? Right. Well, I mean, it was comical, but the reason why I went back was I was like, I wasn't that drunk, was I? Nah, I was drunk.
You were?
I was drunk.
Well, you get left out because me and Prince.
You and Brinson were just hammered during that Elite 8 run. So, because I was going back, because as we wrap up the year, I try to see, all right, what worked, what didn't work, how can we go about these things? And obviously, the one clear indication, I kind of knew this in 2023, but where it really started to click was the after darks,
Yeah.
the lives. The lives work. Y'all like the live stuff. After, shocker, people like post game reaction and taking phone calls. What? Let's do that. Mind blown. Reinventing the wheel here. And between the Elite Eight run, Final Four, and then, of course, the Carolina Hurricanes, and trying to figure out a way to do Canes post-game stuff throughout the playoffs and with the help of Luke DeCock and Mike Maniscalco. Those were the things that were actually the most popular. But do you know what our most viral YouTube video was? All the NC State stuff produced big numbers for us. But do you know what the number one viral video that even to this day is still getting hits?
Do you want me to say it, or I know the answer?
Please, if you know the answer.
Yeah, it was Noah Kaniga with Bomani.
It's Kaniga.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
That was an experiment. That was a true experiment. I was like, all right, because as I do more deep dive into YouTube research and things like that, you need things that are repeatable or easily searchable, SEO, all of this.
Did that guy even play this year, by the way?
I don't even know, man. I don't even know. Does it matter? It does. I mean, does it matter?
I mean, they were kind of sort of excited when they signed him, and I think he's like legit. He was legitimately a good high school player. I don't know if
the fact that
tight end, right?
I mean, the fact that it's still, getting hits tells me he did play. So I don't know. I mean, I would assume that. But sure enough, that was like the most obvious thing. And sure enough, it has continuously produced. It is routinely a top viewed video on the channel, which I think is freaking hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
He did not have a catch this year.
No.
Maybe he redshirted?
Okay. Maybe he did. I really don't know. All right. We got another sports phone call here.
Hey guys, Kelly from Wisconsin. Call in about the OG sports moment of the year, and I think this is going to be a common phrase among all state fans, but I cannot believe we made it to the Final Four and we won an ACC title. Went to school in the 80s, good years of Albano. Thought it was normal, especially coming off the 70s. And then being stuck in the vast wasteland of mediocre to occasional joys of men's basketball was difficult, I think, for all NC State fans. And one of the cool things for me was when they played the semifinal game against Purdue, I decided to fly down to Raleigh to watch the game with my daughter, who graduated from state just a couple years before. And it was just so neat to be part of that vibe that the city of Raleigh and the campus was all feeling. The big turnout in front of Mitch's on the street while having some tech issues was just so cool to experience. I cannot stand UNC athletics with a passion. I appreciate how good they are, and it drove me nuts to no end to always see the rush to Franklin when they would beat Duke, or the rush to Franklin when they made the Final Four. And it was like, I got a chance to run out Hillsborough in 87, and that was awesome, and I expected more. But just to get down to Raleigh to experience that is just a memorable event. And shit, if they only come once every 40 years, I guess. Okay. I'll be 98 when the next one happens. I hope it happens before that. But that was the moment of the year, obviously. And side note, being removed from North Carolina, the ability to listen to you guys at the time on radio or to follow the NC State podcast, it's been really cool to see how you guys have redeveloped your own brand. You didn't talk about it too much on air for obvious reasons, but I can understand that this was quite a blow for both of you to move into a profession that you have never really done before, and to create what you guys have created, to be able to want to engage with fans or other sports people is amazing. And it seems like the brakes or the governor has been pulled off what you guys could have only have done in the newspaper and on radio. That now you're running the show as you see fit, and you're able to interact with all these connections you made. And that's just really neat. I mean, obviously teaching high school like I do, I really want kids to have their goals come true, and it's neat to see when they have these small successes. So from the outside, it was really kind of neat how you guys are basically raising something you've never done before, and it's fun to watch.
Well, thank you. It's very appreciative of that from Kelly, longtime listener.
It was very nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, always good to hear those things. And I'm glad he got back to go to Hillsborough Street to enjoy that.
That's why I stayed.
You know,
That's why I stayed. We talked about Final Four stuff. You wanted to go to the Final Four. But for me, I didn't say this because, whatever, save money, blah, 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 blah. No, I wanted to see what Hillsborough Street looks like in that situation because when I was at NC State, that was not the move. I've been, as Kelly said, I've been to Franklin Street for celebrations. 2005 is the one that sticks out the most to me. Because look,
I'm still close to graduate. Or
yeah. So at that point, Kelly and I are both 26. Kelly went to Carolina.
Okay.
At that point, she's at Duke Law, and we're still no kids. Like, you're still you're still young. You're still doing
youth.
stuff. You're still able to do what you want at that point, right? So yeah, man, hanging out with Chris Clark at Bubba O'Malley's, just taking it all in. It was great time, right? And being on Franklin Street, and yeah, Carolina fans get to experience that a lot, but NC State fans not so much. Or that university experience that I was realizing, like, you know what? Didn't really get that university experience when I was at NC State. There were some moments, but it didn't really happen. So that's why I wanted to stick around and check out Hillsborough Street. And yes, technical difficulties aside, it was a very, very cool vibe. Took a lot of pictures and everything else. Hey, Joe, what was your biggest win on the DraftKings Sportsbook app in 2024?
I won one of the random golf bets pre-flop during the PGA Tour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I also had Bryson DeChambeau to win the U.S. Open.
Okay.
Yeah. Golf bets are still the best bets.
All I know is that a lot of our listeners took advantage of those bonus bets when things went live in March, and they cashed out. Like, hey, NC State, Final Four, why not? Ooh, buddy, did they cash out on that one? My biggest
win the ACC was another big one.
That was another big one. My biggest win actually was on one of those goofy $5 single game parlays during the NCAA tournament. I think I actually hit on one NCAA tournament multi-game parlay, like in the first round or whatever it was. And like I've said this before, but it's worth repeating. I got my G-Shock with the winnings, baby. That's what it was all about. And then I had some fun with it too. But regardless, it's been a great year with DraftKings, and it will continue into 2025. And with Christmas being here, you're going to be spending a lot of time just kind of hanging around, watching all the college football, watching the pro football. The Canes are back in action. We got hoops. We got all sorts of stuff. It really is the most wonderful time of the year. You're off of work. You're watching hoops. You're watching football. Pull up the DraftKings Sportsbook app and have a little bit more fun with it. And here's a gift for all new customers who bet $5. You'll get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use that promo code OG24. Again, that's OG24. New customers will get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. So happy holidays from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
That's going to wrap it up for the free portion of the OG mailbag. If you'd like to hear two airing of grievances, one is directed at the fans and one is directed directly at Joe Giglio, then by all means, go to ogtrianglemedia.com and sign up for OG fans today for as little as $13 a month. Maybe you're already an OG fan subscriber and there's a sports fan in your life that you think would enjoy these things. You can gift OG fans. Just go to ogtrianglemedia.com. Thanks to everybody who has subscribed. That's one of the things that we wanted to get off the ground in 2024 was some sort of premium offering, finding different ways to generate revenue. I've said this in the past, and I'll say it again, a reminder of why we launched OG Fans in the first place. And that was a way to generate some cash to allow for other people that we think you'd like in terms of writing or podcast stuff, have an opportunity to do it, whether it's Lauren Brownlow with the ACC Panic Room, Mitch Northrum helping us out with women's college basketball, Tom Edwards talking about hockey, because I think he adds something, especially when it comes to salary cap space and everything else. And yes, Joe still needs to be a writer at the end of the day. I know you feel it in your plums still.
Yes, it's a tingle.
That one guy earlier who said he saw you all miserable, that's just his process.
Yeah, man.
That's just Joe's process, man. It's all part of it. So the rest of the way, we are on the premium side. Go to ogtrianglemedia.com. And yes, for those who are listening on the premium side already, it's the cursing is gonna go off the charts.